You're listening to the Coming Insurrection by the Invisible Committee, read by Jason Mccoy. You're listening to the Coming Insurrection by the Invisible Committee. The book you hold in your hands has become the principal piece of evidence in an anti-terrorism case in France directed against 9 individuals who were arrested on November 11, 2008, mostly in the village of Tarnac. They have been accused of criminal association for the purposes of terrorist activity, on the grounds that they were to have participated in the sabotage of overhead electrical lines on France's national railways. Although only scanty circumstantial evidence has been presented against the 9, the French Interior Minister has publicly associated them with the emergent threat of an ultra-left movement, taking care to single out this book, described as a manual for terrorism, which they are accused of authoring. What follows is the text of the book preceded by the first statement of the Invisible Committee since the arrests. A point of clarification. Everyone agrees. It's about to explode. It is acknowledged with a serious and self-important look in the corridors of the Assembly, just as yesterday it was repeated in the cafes. There is a certain pleasure in calculating the risks. Already, we are presented with a detailed menu of preventative measures for securing the territory. The New Year's festivities take a decisive turn. Next year, there'll be no oysters. Enjoy them while you can. To prevent the celebrations from being totally eclipsed by the traditional disorder, 36,000 cops and 16 helicopters are rushed out by Aliette Marie, the same clown who, during the high school demonstrations in December, tremulously watched for the slightest sign of a Greek contamination, readying the police apparatus just in case. We can discern more clearly every day, beneath the reassuring drone, the noise of preparations for open war. It's impossible to ignore its cold and pragmatic implementation, no longer even bothering to present itself as an operation of pacification. The newspapers consciously draw up the list of causes for the sudden disquiet. There is the financial crisis, of course, with its booming unemployment, its share of hopelessness and of social plans, its Kerviel and Madoff scandals. There is the failure of the educational system, its dwindling production of workers and citizens, even with the children of the middle class as its raw material. There is the existence of a youth to which no political representation corresponds, a youth good for nothing, but destroying the free bicycles that society so consciously put at their disposal. None of these worrisome subjects should appear insurmountable in an era whose predominant mode of government is precisely the management of crises. Unless we consider that what power is confronting is neither just another crisis, nor a series of more or less chronic problems, of more or less anticipated disturbances, but a singular peril, that a form of conflict and positions have emerged that are explicitly not manageable. Those who everywhere make up this peril have to ask themselves more than the trifling questions about causes or the probabilities of inevitable movements and confrontations. They need to ask how, for instance, does the Greek chaos resonate in the French situation? An uprising here cannot be the simple transposition of what happened over there. Global civil war still has its local specificities. In France, a situation of generalized rioting would provoke an explosion of another tenor. The Greek rioters are faced with a weak state, whilst being able to take advantage of a strong popularity. One must not forget that it was against the regime of the colonels that, only 30 years ago, democracy reconstituted itself on the basis of a practice of political violence. This violence, whose memory is not so distant, still seems intuitive to most Greeks. Even the leaders of the Socialist Party have thrown a Molotov or two in their youth. Yet classical politics is equipped with variants that know very well how to accommodate these practices, and to extend their ideological rubbish to the very heart of the riot.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?